What is up, everybody? Hey, this is Ryan. Welcome to our Reflections podcast. I'm in studio with my good friend, Olivia. What's up, Olivia?
Good.
Good. I said what's up, not how are you doing? So you probably have heard recently that the government has made some changes. I mean, I guess the government's always making changes, but one of the things they've done and are in the process of doing is they're kind of reformatting and reimagining the budget. And one of the things that's taken a hit is this thing called SNAP benefits. Maybe you've heard of this. And SNAP benefits are these benefits, this aid that goes to lower income families and it helps them to buy food. It's a food provision for folks who can't afford it. And it affects 42 million Americans. There's 42 million folks, according to one statistic, that are going to be affected by this, which means allegedly there's 42 million Americans who are going to be in a food shortage or food deprivation. And the question is, what is my response? I've been asked a few times by a number of people, what's my response? And here's the deal. I want to respond in this brief little, and in fact, this really deserves a much longer podcast episode. But on here, I want to respond as a Christian pastor and what I think the role of the church should be. I'm going to let you guys all argue out the politics of it and the legislation. That's another conversation, and that's out of my lane here a little bit. But I want to talk about what is a Christian response. And here's where I'll start. The early church, go back to Acts 2 and read from then on. The early church, one of the defining markers of the early church was their unbelievable generosity to those who were in need. So as they gathered, they were doing all kinds of things, these followers of the way, they call them. Remember that back then, they didn't call them Christians yet. In fact, Christian was a derogatory term. But they called themselves followers of the way. They were following the way of Jesus, the path, the model of life that Jesus left for them, that he showed them. And they were followers of the way. And in that, trying to live out the way of Jesus, they deemed it important to take care of those in their midst and their neighbors who didn't have enough. So when they would gather, they would say, hey, anybody who's in need, let us know, and we'll take care of you. So if as you gathered for community, the followers of the way, if somebody in your midst didn't have, shoes, and I had lots of shoes, I would share my shoes with him or her. And vice versa, if they had a lot of food and that month I didn't have a lot of food, they would share their food with me. And one of the things that they made sure was that nobody went without. And the reason is because when Jesus was walking the earth, he preached, his main message was the gospel of the kingdom of God. He went around talking about the kingdom of God and then put it on display. And as he did, it became evident to them that, hey, look, when the kingdom of God comes on earth, as it is in heaven, there's provisions enough for everyone. There won't be any lack. There won't be any need. People will have enough. And we can argue about why some folks have an abundance and some folks don't have a lot. And that's a whole nother conversation. But what I want to argue is that in the kingdom of God, I think we'd all agree, there won't be lack and there won't be need. There'll be enough for everyone, plenty of food and drink to go around. It's why it's so interesting and actually compelling that the image for the age to come in the Gospels is one of a great feast where everybody has enough and where there's wine and food and bread and everyone's fed. So that was one of the defining markers of the early church, is that everybody had enough, nobody went without, and there was no one in need. And what I would say is that over the course of history, that was one of the strengths of the church, is that they helped people in need. So you have hospitals that are still around, that are Christian-based hospitals, like the Methodist Hospital. You have Jesuit schools. So the Jesuits were passionate about teaching and instructing students. You have all kinds of Christian humanitarian aid organizations. Christians were one of the predominant voices against slavery and even in the modern civil rights movement. There's a lot of good that Christians have done in the world to try to help and be a good force because of what the kingdom of God they think looks like. So right now you have 42 million Americans who are going to be affected by this now, cutting of the SNAP benefits. What is the role of the church? Well, simply, and again, this will take a massive, endeavor and undertaking, but what if the church began to take ownership of those in our midst, in our church, of course, but also in our city, who needed help with food? I love it, but in Elk River, Elk River has about 25,000 people, but there's all kinds of folks around the area too that aren't really a part of the Elk River proper that are around. But we have this food shelf in Elk River that was started by churches in Elk River years ago. It's called CARE, C-A-E-R, Community Aid Elk River. And CARE does a phenomenal job at helping feed people and offer all kinds of other aid and directs them towards, more sustainable long-term help, like job interview skills. They help single mothers with all kinds of ways. It's a beautiful ministry, CARE. And the churches in Elk River started this. And all the churches, at least initially, and we still do, help support it by giving money to help keep CARE going. And I love it because it's a way of the churches in the area helping take care of those who are in need. So one of the responses that I give when people ask me, hey, Ryan, what's Central's response to this now, this government cutting the SNAP benefits? I said, well, we're going to keep helping people that are in need in our area and supporting CARE and helping those. We also, at Central, we have a human needs fund, a fund that people give to, and that also we just have in our budget that helps those who are in need in this kind of way. And the beautiful part of it is that, like CARE, for example, they have people that work there that have this ongoing relationship with people that are in need. The government, as much good as they can do, they often can't have that relationship piece. So I guess I would want to just pose the question, and I know I'm an idealist, and this would take a massive, overhaul of all of this, but like, what if the church continued to double down on just helping people in our midst and our neighbors in the area? And if we all there are churches everywhere. There's churches on almost every corner in America, it feels like. If all of us begin to just, hey, what we have an abundance of, we want to share it with those in our neighborhoods, in our city, in our villages, in our towns, and make sure that nobody in our area goes without food. What if we did that? Then it would alleviate, of course, probably an abundance of the pressure on the government to have to do this. But my calling is for us today as Christians. Who are the folks in your ring, your circle of influence, who might be one of these 42 million Americans that are in need of some aid, food-wise or otherwise? And how can you be, a person who helps contribute to this solution to help them long-term, but also short-term, and to make sure that nobody in your area goes without? Because in the kingdom of God, everybody has enough. There's plenty of food and plenty of drink to go around. All right, love you guys. Peace. Hey, if you enjoy this show, I'd love to have you share it with some friends. And don't forget, you are always welcome to join us in person at Central in Elk River at 8:30, which is our liturgical gathering, or at 10 o'clock, our modern gathering. Or you can check us out online at clcelkriver.org. Peace.